Eli Drinkwitz was there, and I imagine it was a recruiting event for him, as it is when most coaches most coaches go to basketball games at their school. He decided to say something to Tennessee's basketball team, which is odd for me. I covered guys that were at least somewhat stoic, like Philip Fulmer, guys that wouldn't just run their mouths. This is unusual for me. What did he say? What did Eli say to Tennessee, who just really appears as if he has a real issue with Tennessee for some reason?
So during a timeout, he was sitting courtside at the game, and he was high-fiving Truman, the Missouri mascot, and SEC Network announcer Tom Hart said he was talking trash to Tennessee's players. And reportedly, with 6 minutes and 34 seconds remaining in the first half, he yelled after a high five. He high-fived the Truman mascot and reportedly yelled over to the Tennessee huddle, "You ain't that tough." And
okay, this is definitely into the gooberish territory. And if you want to vote, we reposted the poll. Who is the biggest goober in the SEC? Eli Drinkwitz is winning with 71% of the vote. Beamer, 21%. Lane, 7% of the vote. Sark not getting any of the votes. So cheers to that, Steve. But with Eli Drinkwitz, he's past the point of being a goober. But is this serious? I mean, is this something that if you're Missouri or the SEC, you're concerned about, that it could go a step in the wrong direction? Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Do that. We need that for you. That he could be a little bit unhinged?
I think, okay, this is going to be very embarrassing to say for me to say about him, but I think he's going through a midlife crisis.
Why? Is he getting a divorce or something?
I don't know, but this
sports car.
He's 30. He turned 40 last year. And I think he's going through a midlife crisis. I think he's trying to pretend he connects with young players and young fans. So he wants to act like a student. And look, Tennessee fans are going to hate me for saying this, but I'm going to call it out. When Bruce Pearl was coaching Tennessee in the first few years, right after his divorce, he was going through a midlife crisis. That whole taking your shirt off, painting your chest for the Lady Vols game, that's the most midlife crisis thing I've ever seen someone do. Quite honestly,
it's kind of cool. If you're there for it,
it was a midlife crisis move. He was going through a midlife crisis, okay? And he was older than Eli Drinkwitz, but Eli Drinkwitz is absolutely going through a midlife crisis right now. That's what I think this is. Okay, and that's where the "we stand on business" Josh comes from. That's where the talking trash to Tennessee players comes from. He's trying to act like he's one of the cool young college kids that he works with every day. That's all this is about. And yeah, no, Bruce Pearl was exactly the same way at Tennessee in 06 and 07.
Okay, so we do have somebody that agrees with me. I wonder if I would just be by myself on this. And that was a Smoky Mountain Red saying that if I was his AD, I would tell him to shut the bleep up. I would too. I mean, he also went on a national show back in 2022 and wasn't even asked. I don't know if you heard that, the Jim Rome interview. He wasn't even asked about Tennessee specifically, and then just broke into, hey, they're cheating sort of thing. He just seems like he is thirsty for attention for some reason.
So that one didn't annoy me as much as it did other people who are affiliated with Tennessee, because it kind of like, I didn't see any difference between that and the joke Spurrier used to say against
Tennessee. Did you actually hear it though?
I did. I've forgotten it since then, but like,
it just seemed wedged. It is more so than it seemed egregious. It seemed wedged in there and weird to me. Like,
but how is my question was like,
not stable? Not that the guy's a bad sport. The guy's not stable.
But how was that any different from the jab Spurrier always took at other programs?
Well, Spurrier just wait around and he'd sit there and he'd wait. And Caleb's the interviewer here, and Caleb's going to ask a question, but it really doesn't matter what Caleb asks because I've already got my answer as Steve Spurrier ready. So Caleb says, well, what about that front four Florida State has? And I say, I can tell you about the Florida State. It's it's pretty good front four. Yeah, they do a lot. It's amazing what you can do when you got a bunch of free shoes. And that's the way he would do it. That's a lot smoother than Jim Rome, timeout. I need your entire broadcast to stop, and it's nationwide so I can rip Tennessee. Don't you agree that it was a little smoother?
No, because I think you're missing sometimes Spurrier volunteered other programs when no one asked. There was a time where Tennessee went 6-6 under Butch Jones and celebrated going 6-6. And Spurrier was asked, "Are you disappointed South Carolina went 6-6?" And he said, "No, Tennessee went 6-6 and they're doing somersaults over there." And I mean that was unnecessary, and no one asked him about Tennessee, and he just said it.
Now the coolest thing is we haven't even gotten to Sakai's response.
Hey now, that's not real. That's not real.
That's not real.
That's not real.
What was Sakai's supposed response?
Okay, this is a parody account. Okay, this is a parody account. A guy named Richard G. West had a really funny thing on Twitter yesterday where he said that he said that Drinkwitz said you throw the ball away like your QB, and he says that Zakai Ziegler responded, "I don't even know who you are, you four-eyed fat, you know what?" But like that did not happen, guys. That's a joke.
I wish you would have said that. By the way, this call out from Travis. Over under 2 rounds, Dave versus Eli, UFC money line, Eli plus 100. If you want to give your money away, give it away. But I would whip that like there's no tomorrow.
He stands on business, though.
He can lay on his back on business.
So not in the SEC. Not in the SEC right now. Who was the lamest, corniest person in the history of the conference? I mean, it could be Eli Drinkwitz if you want to say he's a candidate.
I think Lou Holtz.
You think Lou Holtz was corny?
Yeah. And
he did get
was
a national title.
And he was so full of it. But I mean,
what about Jackie Sherrill?
But he was genuinely a mean person, Lou Holtz was.
Oh, I can believe that. I'm going Jackie Sherrill.
Jackie Sherrill was pretty corny. I remember being at one of my first SEC media days and say, well, I think I call him Coach Sherrill because I was afraid of everybody back then. I probably Jackie. But, well, I got to give you credit for those boots there. And he goes, you like those? Snakeskin. He really wore snakeskin boots to SEC media days and a full suit, Caleb. He looked like he had gotten dressed in the dark.
Oh, my God. That's so embarrassing.
But that was and if you remember, they had Wayne Matkins who looked just like Chris Rock at quarterback.
I remember that. He led Mississippi State to an SEC title game, which shows you how bad the SEC West was during that time.
And I interviewed him and I said, hey, I wanted to tell you that I think you're really close to being an elite player. It's just a couple plays here and there. I was just trying to get the interview started. I didn't know that. And he goes, I can tell you've watched me a lot. No, I haven't, Wayne.
So I got wow. That's so funny that I can tell you've watched me a lot.
It's a great way to start an interview. Like you were so close to taking that next step. What's the next? You can use that in Dallas.
That's true. So I got something really well. Also, Jackie Sherrill one time castrated a bull when Mississippi State played Texas as some like synonym for they're going to beat Texas. And I'm like, okay, so you're going to do animal cruelty to make a point? Okay, Jackie. And then when Memphis played Mississippi State in 2003, you may not know this, but he scapegoated Joe Lee Dunn for Mississippi State struggles, which, by the way, Joe Lee, it wasn't his fault. Do new defense. And
I like Joe Lee.
Yeah, and so Tommy West hired him at Memphis.
I like the song that Dolly Parton did about him.
Joe Lee. Oh, my gosh. So basically, Tommy West and Joe Lee, they were talking about the Memphis-Mississippi State game, and they were saying, this is kind of a date Joe Lee Dunn has had circled because obviously he was fired by Mississippi State. Mississippi State wins, and Jackie Sherrill tells Tommy West at midfield in the handshake, you can tell Joe Lee I'm glad he circled that date. Who saves that? I think I'm going over. I think I'm going to Jackie Sherrill now as the lamest person in the history of the SEC.
I don't know. I thought he was. I watched them from afar. They kind of became my second most followed team because they tried to do it just with junior college players. They were like the early test for NIL. Is they just tried to do it with junior college players, and they at one point had 10 junior college starters among 22. And I'm like, okay, that's too far. This isn't going to work out. By the way, what did JJ Redick make over the course of his career?
It was actually it was 115 million, but I was close.
Whoa, you did great. JJ
Redick.
Close. Jim Donnan cussed Fulmer out, according
He
to
did? I didn't know that.
that. Ron Zook is the worst. Now, that being said, when we talk about biggest goober, if we put Butch on this list, that list now includes Sark, Beamer, Drinkwitz, Kiffin. Where would Butch be on this list in most people's minds, SEC or Tennessee related?
Man, Butch versus Drinkwitz. That is, oh gosh, because Butch had remember the turnover trash can?
Oh, that was awful.
And then also their phrase
just,
was that way for the Migos song at that time.
Well, and you had the rapper that just showed up on campus that he didn't know who Butch Jones was. Let's be honest.
Oh, which one was that? I mean,
John,
he did the, huh?
Wasn't Jot Rule. It was another popular one at the time.
Well, I mean, Butch did the, oh, it was Lil Jon. It was Lil Jon. The Lil Jon whole third down for what thing, which I mean was cool, but like the worst was that there was that Migos song called That Way, and Butch Jones's their slogan in 2017 was That Way.
See, you got to go all the way if you're going to do that. I don't want just Lil Wayne showing up on practice. I want Kendrick Lamar atop a Tennessee walking horse. Portions of the program brought to you by Rick Terry Jewelry Designs. They want to be your jeweler looking for affordable game day jewelry. How about the Fire Opals, the Tennessee tradition? RickTerryJewelry.com, RickTerryJewelry.com. What do you think about that? Kendrick Lamar on a Tennessee walking horse. You talk about recruits, that would be huge. And if it's about uniforms, you can even throw a black uniform on the Tennessee walking horse. Thoughts?
I think that's pretty epic. I think that's pretty epic. I mean, I love Kendrick Lamar. I love Kendrick Lamar. I mean, he's dude has a Pulitzer, one of the top 5 rappers of all time, in my opinion. And so, yeah, no, I would definitely take Kendrick Lamar. That'd be pretty epic, but I don't know if he would do it. He's a very quiet dude.
Yeah. And Tennessee walking horses are abused animals.